Alright, so here's the thing. Classic cars are great, but they bring out the worst in some people. Sometimes you have a young neighbor who owns a classic car and they think this buys them cultural capital. Because I don't need a personality now that I have a beige Ford Thunderbird that I unlocked with the DLC known as Dad Forgot to Write Me Out of the Will. And you know what? Maybe it does buy them a little cultural cachet, especially if they're vigilant enough to do the work involved in keeping the car in working order. That deserves respect. And you're within your rights as a human being to add whatever mods you want to your classic car, even if it fundamentally alters what that car used to be. That's your right. But my issue is the behavior it inspires in some people, particularly the epidemic of classic car guys who use owning a classic car as an excuse for bad behavior. All those zipper-merging, hand-sniffing assholes who park at the gas pump and go inside for a gobbler at the Wawa, because I have a Plymouth Barracuda, and who's gonna be mad about this thing taking up space? I do loud pulls out of the Cars and Coffee and get the event banned from the abandoned shopping mall parking lot some land developer hasn't figured out what to do with yet. The audacity! Passers-by slow down in neighborhoods with classic cars, debating whether or not they want to roll down their window and see if the guy washing the Chevy Nova in his driveway is the type of guy who's going to engage with a warmly curious question about his car, or if he's that defensive guy who answers with terse, passive-aggressive responses that are pretty much just an invitation to keep on moving. Having a classic car is great, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't put you at the top of the food chain of the automotive community. And you know why? Because for all the elitism, for all the holier-than-thou pretensions, you're still one of us. You remember, and perhaps still know, exactly what it's like to drive something so mundane, so utterly forgettable that you've almost blocked out that part of your life completely. Nobody ever hits the ground running with their dream car, with a classic. No, you work your way up from whatever you had before you could start getting what you wanted. And that is fine. That is perfectly okay. And the 90s car that was pretty much built for working your way up out of it, a car that became suddenly exceedingly obtainable in the mid to late 2000s, the last of the Oldsmobiles, the end of the line, the Alero.
I get naked to poop. I get naked to poop. I get naked to poop because I live alone.
Introduced in 1998 for the 1999 model year, the Alero was GM's last grasp at making Oldsmobile relevant. Its design dates back to 1997 with the V6-powered Alero Alpha Sports Coupe, a concept car that basically wrote a check that Oldsmobile didn't have any intention of cashing, considering the Alero hit the market as a boring, mid-sized, entry-level Olds to replace cars like the Achieva and the Cutlass. Once an aspirational car aimed squarely at, well, I don't even know who this car was supposed to appeal to, but now it's a second-chance Craigslist hero. A functioning car for a cost that still leaves room in the budget for League of Legends influence point boosts, along with a stronger internet connection so you can continue never seeing your torrents. And that's because if you go into forums that talk about the Alero, particularly the 1999 model, you'll find plenty of reviews that rave about the reliability of this car. And I know, you're supposed to take customer reviews with a grain of salt because everybody's experience is different. But these are cars that people have had for over 200,000 miles. A generational hand-me-down. I mean, the owner swears by this car, and I get it. It's reliable, but unsexy, in the way that true reliability often is. But then, an Alero wasn't put on this earth to be sexy any more than I was. It's here to be something you can count on, like the friend who still sits with you at lunch after you accidentally called the French teacher mom. Oldsmobile Alero. The official car of using the Reyes filter on Instagram to cover up cold sores. Look, I don't think anyone is particularly surprised by this being the last of the Oldsmobiles. It gave off an air of the inevitable, of death coming to collect his grim tax. The Alero is aggressively forgettable, as if it's reaching into your mind and eternal sunshining itself out of your memory. It's the type of car that doesn't get a single red cent of your paycheck unless it's to get it past inspection. Any consideration or thought you might give to the Alero ends at the moment the key slips out of the ignition. And it's just as well, because it's not a particularly compelling car, and it doesn't have to be for what its mission is, which is nothing more than the bare-bones mission of every car: to get you places. Now, this Alero runs on the 3.4-liter GM 60-degree V6 engine, designated the LA1 or 3400. It was more or less the L82, but with a larger bore. It's front-wheel drive, utilizing a 4-speed automatic transmission with gas mileage in the ballpark of 18 city and 26 highway. Horsepower is around 170 at 4,800 RPM, and torque is roughly 200 foot-pounds at 4,000 RPM. It also came with a sufficient range of features that were, quote, luxury at the time. I'm talking stuff like a proper AM/FM stereo with cassette and CD player, a premium sound system with amplifier, and stuff like keyless entry and a power driver's seat. And it is a comfortable car in that 90s sort of way. You know, it's familiar. But if you don't really have a frame of reference for a car like this, then I don't know how comfortable you're really going to find it. I mean, I'm sure if I got in something nicer from the same era, I'd be more judgmental, but come on, I drive a Mustang from 2004. My credibility is shot up like Sonny Corleone. So whatever, this is fine. My back didn't hurt at the end of the drive. My robust ass found purchase in seats that seemed all too welcoming to the formation of grooves. Whatever, I'm not complaining. But at an operational level, yeah, no. This is a car for getting the hell out of people's way. 0to60times.com lists this as getting from 0 to 60 in 7.8 seconds. But this feels a bit more sluggish, which you could probably chalk up to the overall wear and tear of 20 years in constant action, since this previous owner dailied the car before the current owner got it in 2012. So it's hard to be disappointed in the acceleration when you weren't expecting that much in the first place. After all, it's kind of hard to be king of the road in a 99 Alero. The best you can do is get what meager kicks you can when you come upon an open left lane that isn't being hugged to death by a Honda CR-V. And when you open it up, I don't know, I suppose it's fun, although not in a compelling way. How to put it? I guess it's sort of like jumping on a trampoline with a sore ankle. You're kind of having fun, but you know you'd be having more fun under better conditions. With a closed course and the freedom of knowing you didn't have to give the car back. You know, the way any drab car would suddenly become fun. But then, this isn't a perfect model of reliability either. I wasn't kidding about this spending the better part of its 20 years in constant service. This is not a barn find or a garage ghost. It's been street parked and road tripped since time immemorial, and it's gone through head gaskets like a nuclear family goes through gently owned Chevys from a 5-finger, 10 rings dealership. Hey, come and get a used Chevy at Kunkelman Chevrolet. Good credit, bad credit, no credit, and credits. If you are capable of drawing breath, let us put you in a pre-owned Chevy Uplander, because you're a go-getter who dresses like a third grader on picture day. Now let's see that smile. You want Simon Eyes? You like Simon Eyes? Just get the Simon Eyes or else. We know where you live at Kunkelman Chevrolet, so come on down. Kunkelman Chevrolet Buick GMC Oldsmobile off Route 22, Harrisburg. But the Alero isn't built to be fun. It's built to be band-aided indefinitely. Because let's be serious. What are you really going to get for a 99 Alero on trade-in? Hell, you might as well just hold on to it until it dies. In fact, that might actually be the smarter move, since this motor is going to stand by your side like a politician's wife. Sure, you might be tempted by the danger of an engine swap mistress, but a mistress isn't going to give a damn about how your day went, so This is the official car of the X-Files movie from 1998. It looks fancy for the time. Oh yeah, it'll fit right in with your LED lawn accessories, but if you have a boyfriend who talks on the phone like this, tell him I said nice Alero. This is the car for you if you never change your oil and pray to God for divine intervention when the check engine light is flashing like a crosswalk. But the Alero is also a sedan steeped in history like a burned hand in cool water. The Alero was an episode of This Is Your Life for GM, with the return of the 60s Coke bottle styling and chassis parts and engine choices familiar to anyone who ever had a Pontiac Grand Am. But the Aleros had the tradition of all being built in Lansing, Michigan, where Oldsmobile was founded. a cornerstone of a city nearly as synonymous with the American auto industry as Detroit itself. Of course, this is where it was born, and of course, this is where Oldsmobile came to die, with the last car, a red Alero sedan, rolling off the lot on April 29th, 2004. And it's not even like the Oldsmobile decline was all that gradual. They were still selling 1 million cars a year in the 1980s and helped bolster GM's reputation as the bastion of American variety between the Buick, Cadillac, Chevrolet, and Pontiac divisions. But Oldsmobile dropped like a hot rock into the 90s, even if you can hardly swing a cow anywhere in Pennsylvania without hitting a Cutlass Sierra. The problem with Oldsmobile in the 90s and the early 2000s was that the brand's attempt to reach the youth market in the 80s essentially buried their chances of reaching that same market in the next cycle. Because you can't spend all that time claiming that a 1988 Olds is, quote, not your father's Oldsmobile, and then expect that guy's son to then want an Oldsmobile for himself. But even if he somehow did, there were badge engineering issues at GM by the late 90s that essentially made Oldsmobile less distinctive than any of a number of cars that shared chassis, body styles, and uninspired take-out Tupperware designs. Maybe you could get young customers who always wanted to drive the family car they grew up with, but that's not really what an Alero is. And it's not what Oldsmobile was trying to be at the end. To this day, you'll have people arguing that GM shouldn't have given up on Oldsmobile. And I can see where those arguments are coming from. There was potential to save the brand by pivoting towards Oldsmobile as a middle ground between the youth-centric Pontiac and the more upscale Buick, a car for people in their mid-20s to late 30s. But Oldsmobile tried chasing that youth market at the cost of some of their older customers, who didn't want to drive an Aurora or a Bravada or an Intrigue or even an Alero. You see, back in the 20s, Alfred P. Sloan had Oldsmobile positioned above Buick but below Cadillac, so that you leveled up from a Chevy to a Buick, from a Buick to an Oldsmobile, and from an Oldsmobile to a Cadillac. But badge engineering muddled up the waters at GM to where everything felt the same. I get into it a bit in my RCR stories on the death of Pontiac, but the various GM marks lacked the differentiation necessary to avoid being classed as redundant in the first place. Never mind how the attempt alienated its long-term customers. Why go after the youth market rather than simply appeal to the clientele you already have? It might not have lasted forever, but it could have gotten you a couple extra good years under the GM umbrella. But there just wasn't enough of an outcry over Oldsmobile's death to justify saving it. The people manning the ramparts in the name of Oldsmobile weren't actually buying Oldsmobiles if sales numbers in those final years were anything to go by, going from 1 million cars per year for the brand in 1986, according to a report by Auto News, to just 79,796 by 2004. Enthusiasts were defending the nebulous idea that the Oldsmobile could turn it around and become what it used to be. And yet, it's very much a what have you done for me lately mentality in the auto industry, or at least it was in the mid-2000s. So there goes Pontiac, there goes Saturn, there goes Oldsmobile. The Alero was a Costco Pontiac Grand Am, and while there are worse things to be, there are any number of better skins to wear as well. The Alero is a serviceable beater, and not much more than that. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I just don't care enough to be disappointed, because that would require keeping high hopes, rather than an open mind. And yet, even among those rooting for Oldsmobile way the hell back in 2004, hoping the brand would get another chance to prove what it was made of, I think most would expect them to do better than this. The Oldsmobile Alero isn't a bad car, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's a great one either. And a C- report card never got anybody to Disney World.